Hey everybody, we are back with what, episode 6?
Six.
I think episode 6 of Wild Ride, The Winds of Change with Brian and Amy. He's
I'm not gonna say
he's
it.
not going to say it.
Normally I say with Amy and Brian, but she corrects me so frequently, so
It's
I'm not gonna do it anymore.
We're good, just like this. We are having a blast just getting on here and just encouraging people on these wild rides that life takes us from time to time, whether that's in our relationship, what we're experiencing, and how we're walking in this dance, this perichoresis dance with the Trinity. And we have some exciting news for today because we are, as we said, we're going to be sprinkling in conversations with people we meet along life's journey. And today we have the pleasure of being joined with Sean and Kylie Henderson from Australia, soon to be in the US of A. And so y'all say hello.
G'day, mate.
Hello, hey guys. We're so excited to hang with you this
Yeah,
morning
we're excited to
or
talk
this
with
evening.
you. I'm honored. It's a privilege to be
Yeah.
here, and we just look forward to whatever it is we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not actually sure yet either, so we're just going to hang in there. But people, please don't not listen because we don't know what we're going to talk about yet.
That wasn't a double negative at all.
No, not at all. But we had the opportunity of meeting Sean and Kylie when we were in California in San Juan Capistrano for a recent Ministers of Reconciliation conference. That, gosh, we had some great teachers there, some amazing people that we got to meet. But I can still remember when Sean and Kylie walked in, we were hanging out at the Marriott Resort in Laguna Cliffs. And we're outside. They had just like literally flown in or something, like, like been on a plane from across the world, and we're all outside having some food and connecting with some other folks that had flown in. And Sean and Kylie come in and literally light up the darkness of the night.
They were larger than life. I mean,
Yeah.
Sean, in case you haven't noticed, is a very modest dresser. And
They can't see the shine. They can't see the shine.
he was wearing his crossbody bag, looking stylish, and Kylie has this laugh that just literally lights up the light. And we had already heard so much about y'all. John and Casey, Amy, everybody was talking you up, and we're like, wow, this is them. So it was really an auspicious meeting. I'm getting to hang with you guys that night. It was great.
Yeah. And so we got to spend 10 days with you guys and with a lot of incredible people that have journeyed along in this finished work, this Christological understanding of Christ in us, this union and this freedom, and just enjoyed your company so much. But what I want to do is share you guys with other people. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, all of the good things like that. Give us a background.
Well, it's been a bit of a journey. Just our relationship together, we met in primary school.
Wow.
So we were actually boyfriend and girlfriend in primary school, and then spent most of high school at different schools and met again at the pub after I left year 12, which is our finishing year here in Australia. So pretty much since then, which was when I was 18 and Sean was about 20, we've been dating and then got married shortly after that. So we've been together now for 30 years, and it's been a pretty...
33, I think, isn't it?
Oh, not that many, I don't think.
It's not.
No, 94 we got married.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to jump in like that and correct her. I'm just supposed to stay out of the way and let her finish her story.
Okay. Just pinching.
Yeah, so and we haven't always been on the same page, like in the God space along the way, and that's been a huge part of our journey, and especially the last probably 12 years since Sean had his revelation of who Christ was for him and had an amazing one-on-one encounter in the middle of the Australian outback. So since then, we've really been on this mystical journey with with the Father, and this deep dive where we've gone on a real relational journey with one another and unpacking what that has looked like to this moment, which has been diving into the unknown places and really just trusting him with everything. So
Yeah.
it's been pretty crazy.
We were talking about it this morning when we went out for coffee. For the first 17 years of our marriage, Kylie was going to church and, you know, she was a Christian person and all of those things that you do as a Christian person, she was trying to do whilst being married to somebody who didn't want to have anything to do with any of that. And it was really tumultuous. And Kylie just hung on to me and hung on to the belief that at some stage in the future, something was going to change for me as well. And so after 17 years, I had an encounter with the one who created it all in the middle of the outback, and everything changed from that moment forward to the point where I just started to see a new reality of life from the moment that happened. And I've never been the same. I've never understood the old person that I used to be.
Mm. So something that you said, Kylie, it's been 12 years since then. Sean, it's been 12 years that you guys have been on this ride. So that encounter, is that about right?
2011 that happened. Yeah, so it's probably nearly 15 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this question about that, because you're saying you were married for many years, you know, over half your marriage, or yeah, pretty much right around half your marriage, without having this connection, faith to faith, the depth of the relationship, like not having the freedom. We can have very close relationships and still not maybe see eye to eye on the spiritual, but there's that entwining, that kavah, that thing that happens when it's heart to heart. How did you handle that when you were on your spiritual journey, Kylie, but Sean's doing his own? Because for a lot of women, we feel like we need to peck. We need to tell him, you need to go to church. You need to do this. We've got kids. We've got whatever. And just tell me, like, were you in that space of keeping on him, or did you stay back? How did that look for you guys?
It was up and down for me, because I would be in these moments where I'd just be like, he just needs to get saved. Like, I just want him to have that revelation, and, you know, then everything will be great and everything will be perfect. And because at the same time, Sean was really battling a mental health. Like, he had pretty much long-term, from our early marriage, he had chronic fatigue for almost 7 years that really impacted his mental health. And then off the back of that, had a lot of depression and different things that come out of that. And I felt like during that process that I couldn't convince him of how amazing he was. Like, he didn't believe me. It was like that was really difficult to reach him in that heart-to-heart space where he actually believed that he was this amazing person. And so during that time, I would keep thinking, oh, if he just knew who Jesus was, then that would fix everything. But in that journey for me, every time I would come to this breaking point where I just feel like it's never going to happen, the Lord would just speak to me, and he'd just say, just let him go. Like, you've got to just love him exactly where he's at. I'm not asking you to change him. I'm not asking you to I'm just asking you to love him. And even in those hardest times, he said, you don't even need to love him with some conjured up love. I'll give you the love to love him. Like, you just need to be yourself, have fun, relax a bit, like, because I can only be responsible for me. I couldn't change him no matter what I did, or I couldn't even the couple. I remember a couple of times I would get him to come to church to something thing, and all of our teams at church would be praying, for Sean to get saved. This is going to be the moment. He's going to come forward. And, I'd watch him. We'd be watching him, and he would just be sitting there like this during the whole entire thing, and straight up at the end, he'd be not up the front, he'd be out the back door, and you'd have this
Lighting a smoke.
you'd have this
Sure.
up and down all the time of like, when is it going to happen? And I felt like it wasn't like it was, I was so not expecting him to have the encounter at the time that he did, because by that stage, I'd just completely let go of needing to fix him in that way. I'd just kind of been like, well, if this never ever happens, it's going to be okay. Like, we're just going to live this adventurous, wild life. And, I'll just do my spiritual stuff and he can do his not spiritual stuff. Yeah.
So-
and then it came out of left.
Love it.
So we brought up the encounter 3 times. Would you care to elaborate a little bit, Sean, on what happened? Do you feel comfortable with that?
Absolutely, mate. I feel comfortable with anything at all. In 2011, there's 4 of us. So we've got 2 boys, and they were 8 and 10 at the time. The 4 of us hopped on a 3-wheel motorbike, all 4 of us, and went around Australia, which is a massive big trip for any Australian to do. And on that trip, in the middle of the Australian outback, on a day in 2011, as I was riding along, I was in front and my family are behind, like on a bench seat behind me. And I just had an encounter with what I know is the creator of everything. He actually spoke to me from my right-hand side, and I can still see the sky and the sun and the temperature of the day and the surroundings. And he just spoke to me in a way that I felt it in myself, like it wasn't in my ears. It was like a complete body hearing. And he said to me that he just brought to my awareness that where I was right now, I had done everything in my life up to that point without the awareness of him in it. And that if I chose to do life with the awareness of him in my life, that everything would change from then. And I just agreed to it. I just was riding along, 110 kilometers an hour, or, 50 or 60, I suppose it's 60 or 70 miles an hour. And I felt like I was on my own, even though my family were behind me. And I felt like everything changed. I actually felt like I grew angel wings out of my back. And I felt like everything looked different and I understood everything differently. And when we pulled over after that, and, I was crying and just had that moment, that transformational heart moment of just knowing that nothing could ever be the same. And when we pulled over, I didn't tell Kylie. I thought that she would know. I thought that people would know that something had happened to me. That's how transformational it was. And it wasn't until the next day, strangely enough, it's such a weird thing. We were several thousand kilometers from home, and a car started following us the next day, and it ended up being the pastors of the church that Kylie was attending several thousand kilometers away, who were following us in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't tell them. I thought that they would know, and they didn't know. And I couldn't understand straight away. I could not understand how, as a Christian person, other Christian people couldn't see what had changed in me. And I'm still a bit like that, 14 years later. Sometimes when I get handed a tract, or, somebody comes up to me in the street and tries to evangelize themselves upon me, and I will say things, and I've said it recently to a person, I don't understand why it is that you can't see. You can't see that I already know him.
That's a really fascinating point. Why do you think it? Like, why is that people can't see those things in us because of our own unique? Like, is it because we're looking through our lens of our own expectation? And that's a really interesting point. I don't think I've ever thought about that. Why?
Yeah, I think there's many reasons, I think, Amy, that it could be. And I try not to sort of delve into other people's understandings too much. But I think that sometimes we're trying to sell a product that we're not we're not taking the time to see if somebody's already got it. And so I guess all that to say that since the time that it happened to me where I realized that everything was different for me, I've never understood why it's not the same for everybody else. But maybe it is. Maybe it's just different. Maybe I just see in a different way.
So, Kylie, when did you become aware of the change? How did that occur?
You know, in hindsight, I look at that moment because a couple of days later, he told me about the encounter when we were at a campsite, and I think that he was in this beautiful bubble of joy because we were on this grand adventure. So for me, it was you know, he wasn't that person back at home, that sad person who didn't have any hope or anything, because we were on this grand adventure going around Australia. Some of our dreams were coming true. So the real aspect of it was that inner journey of what he was feeling was already beginning to happen on the outside, you know, as we were moving toward that. So that real revelation that he got about, wow, I'm included. This there's this creator of all things that has included me in everything. It's a real incredible moment for yourself when you see people have that awakening. And it feels so much more, woo, you know, you think I must be shining. Like but it was a really emotional moment when he shared it with me and we were like, wow, like everything is going to be different.
Everything needed to change. I was coming to an end, you know, like I had everything materially. I've had lots of money, had lots of possessions and all of those things, and was always on the edge of throwing myself off a cliff, you know, like literally as well. Even before we left to go on that trip, I was in that state. And so retrospectively, you know, like I'm so grateful that God stepped in at that time, because if he hadn't have, I don't know that when we finished that trip that I would have been able to handle life. I think that I'd already done life to the extent that I thought was available to me. And by having him step in when he did, when we got back home, I said to Kylie, let's go to church. And I'd never said that.
And I was like, really?
Really?
Then we went on Sunday night because I found out it was on Sunday night. Then it was on Thursday and I went on Thursday. And then before, you know, long, the church we were attending advertised they were starting a Bible college, and it was on the big screen at church one morning. And I just looked at Kylie and I said, I'm going to that. And, you know, so right from that time, everything changed where I'm all in. Like he's revealed himself to me. I am pursuing the fullness of everything that he is. I cannot limit him in any way, because if there's anything that I think that is not possible for me in my life, I'm limiting who he is that I believe that he is. And so it's just since 2011, it's just been, how do I get more? I want more, you know, let's do the Bible college, let's plant a church, everything from that time forward has just been, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? What are you revealing to us? What do you want us to drop off? What do you want us to surrender to? You know, all of the stuff that you do in the walk of a Christian person. Who do you want me to listen to? What conference do you want me to go to? Which person do you want? You know, is it Justin Abraham? Is it Nancy Cohen? Is it Chris Blackaby? Is it, you know, Ian Clayton? Like, I just want it all. I want everything that you've got, because I'm not satisfied that I have it all yet. And I know there's just more. And so I'm just always today, you know, in this conversation we're having with you, I'm expecting that he will reveal something to one of us that will change our life for the better. You know, that's who I believe that he is.
Wow. Wow, Sean, that is so beautiful and so powerful, and really, like, you know, I think about like for personally, I've not had an experience where it's just like caught me off guard like that. It's been, progressional. It's been that process. And that's why I was really asking Kylie, like, so how is your approach with how you perceived his quote unquote lack of, walking with Christ and that kind of thing earlier? And does that create space for him to experience this on his own? Or, how we can in relationships try to, manage it, control it, and go, oh, wow, like this is what you need. And you said you kind of, you went back and forth, but saw it later. It was like, I need to create this space for him. You get the word from Yeshua. You hear him say, let him be. He's doing his thing. Just love him, right? Just love him. And that does create a space for him to experience this on his own, not be pressured, not be lorded over by another, but loved for who he is. So then you created that, allowed that. But that's not what everybody's experienced. But God will do what God's going to do, right? How he's going to do it, how he's going to reveal himself. And so, I'm just thinking about where you guys were before in your relationship, the things you were doing, the dreams you had, and then you were heading out on this grand adventure that completely shifted everything for you, Sean. That then how did that take you guys? What was some of the differences from that point on as a couple, whether you're doing the grand adventures, you're parenting, careers, like there's just so many things. Tell us a little bit about what came next then. As you were saying, you stepped in, you're listening now, right? You're in that place of, oh, it's now his agenda. We're on the Father's agenda, not our own. And so how did that look for you guys as a couple? What started to shift?
I think the aspect that, and as Sean was saying, he's an all or nothing kind of person. And I mean, we both are in a lot of ways. And so we didn't do this in halves. So right from that get-go, when he, that month after we got back from our trip, and then Sean decided he was signing up for college, and he really believed that he wasn't meant to work for that year. He was just going to college full time and doing internship at the church. And off the back of that, we planted a church with another couple, and we were like all in. It was like my dream had been to just do the all-in God journey because I didn't know a time where I didn't know God. I didn't have like a saved moment because I just always knew God from when I was little. So I had a tumultuous journey in that where I just walked through all the difficult choices and the bad stuff and the things that, the dysfunction and the addiction that I had in my earlier years of adulting with him. So he was in it all with me. I knew he would never leave me because if there was ever any distance, I was the one that created it through shame or through guilt or feeling like I was not good enough or I had, made mistakes and everything. So once we came together in that spirit space, when Sean had his awakening, I feel like it was crazy because I was already in the out of church stuff. So I'd left church in 2007 to do the under the covering journey. And when we come back and we started going to this church where Sean did college, I made that decision because I really wanted our kids to have really cool Christian friends. So we came back into a church that had a really great kids program. But I was very much on the mystical journey already by then. So when Sean came in, he did that really condensed year of learning church theology, being a part of all the different learnings that you learn as part of the church system. And then God pulled us out only 12 months was he in that space. And then he said, okay, now I'm taking you on a wilderness journey. And now I want you to let go of everything. And I want you to trust me in all things.
And it was actually literally in the wilderness too. It was in the Australian outback again.
He took us to Central Australia, where we spent a year. And the last part of that year, he took us to a park in the heart of the city. And he got us to sit there for almost 50 days in a row. He kept on bringing us into this space and requiring us to do nothing except be. And this was in 2013. And it was one of the hardest things that he'd ever asked us to do up until that time, because before, we were very doing people. We're hands-on, we get involved in everything. We're really, we've built teams and volunteered and just been a part of a lot of things that have gone on in kingdom building, I guess, and in church building and just in business building as well. We're very practical. So when he took us on this heart journey of really, like, I guess it's like stripping back, but bringing us back to that place where we can find our identity not in what we do, but in the simplicity of who we are. And we found ourselves sitting on those lawns in that park in the center of our nation, just going, I think we're invisible. Nobody can see us. He doesn't want us to do anything. He won't let us pray for anyone. He just wants us to sit here and just do nothing. And it was this crazy time of just bringing us right back to the simplicity of just our oneness within him. And off the back of that, like, it was a difficult time. We came away from that very, like, kind of broken, and had to process a lot of that journey for a couple of years after that, because when he asks you to do things and go places, often we go with a result in mind. And we do all the time, because we're visionaries. We go and we think this is going to be what's going to happen, and that's going to be good. And then you've got to process when it doesn't work out how you thought it was going to work out. And that's been our journey the last decade plus, is just walking out all of these situations and circumstances he's led us into, when they don't transpire as we had thought that they would.
Yeah, and to not be, sitting in a park where every time you want to talk about him to someone else, or pray for someone else, or any of those sorts of things that you do for him, in a ministry sense, that he's not allowing to happen. He's not even bringing people in your path, and he's telling you, I don't want you to do that. We're not looking for answers in the Bible as to what it is that we should do next. We're crying out to him. Why? Like, why would you bring us here? Why would you bring us here to this miserable place? We lost everything. Like, I finished a job. Kylie got bitten by a spider. She was really unable to do anything for 3 months after getting bitten by that. And in the meantime, we had also moved out of the place that we were renting. So we were homeless, jobless. She required medical attention every day for 3 months to treat a spider bite. And it was one of those times of like, why would you bring us here? And I used to think he was up in the sky somewhere separate to me, and I'd be crying out to him, literally crying. Why? Like, we've got children, we're homeless, we only have a vehicle to live in. Why would you bring us here? And it was lots of those moments such as that across our last, decade or so, of learning who he is to us without somebody telling us, or learning from somebody else necessarily, or reading the book about who he was to Brian or Amy, and relating that to me. It's just been like a very hands-on experiential existence of, if you are who you say you are, and you can do all things through me, then where are you? What are you doing? Like, what is this about? And just walking it out moment by moment with him through the ups and downs and disappointments, but choosing to believe that there's something better ahead.
Wow. You guys, I am so glad you are sharing this. Like, this is the kind of thing that I think is vital as people are stepping into this. Brian and I are in that way. Well, he's been in that longer than I have, and I have been for the last few years, and sometimes just fighting it all the time. But having these kind of conversations with others that are like, no, this is the invitation in. This is where he's calling to, deep calling to deep, that, his eyes scanning to and fro for those hearts, that are saying, this is what I know, that deep inner knowing of who you are. And I can't continue on the journey. Whether it's like you, literally, Kylie, just like your whole life knowing, but we follow then what man says we ought to do when we know, or when we're adults and having, a literal repentance of changing of mind, shifting from walking one way and completely moving in to a whole nother other, and going, but then, man tries to put a box around that. Like, is what I hear, you saying, Sean, like, you had this revelation, you have this, and then we go, oh, well, then I got to do this is what I do. And I go here and I go, oh, I go Sunday morning, Sunday night, then I go on Wednesday night, and then I go to every potluck dinner, get together, and
Bible college.
And then told that I have to, reawaken the law and do all of these things in order to stay or maintain that experience.
Yeah.
Bible college, all the things. But then there's that place where all of a sudden things start to shift and like, no, there's so much more. And I want that, and I'll give up everything to pursue that. But then when we start having to give it up or feel like we're giving it up, or we're, for me, like comparing, going, I've lost this relationship, this one's struggling, that's happening, I don't have this, I don't know where I'm going tomorrow, and I don't have that anymore, and wait, what? And then I, get in the logical part of the brain, giving up everything that I thought was my right to have, that I learned in good Christian circles. That's when I'm blessed, when I have all these things. Oh, you're so blessed. Oh, your family's so blessed. Look at all of this. And then now he starts to pull it back, and I can't help but think of Habakkuk, that even though the barns are dry, the fields are empty, I will trust in the Lord and his goodness. And that it's like, even though there's no fruit, it's fruit, different fruit, right? It's such a different fruit.
It is.
Start to mature inside. The strength starts to shift and come.
Yeah.
But
it's that place of the fruit of his spirit, like I feel like that journey that you go on, where you come to the end of yourself, and then you realize, how am I responding in this moment? Am I responding like a spoiled little kid that's going, I've done all of these things for you, like, why aren't you showing up in my life? Or is the nature of my Father what flows forth from me in that place? Am I still filled with peace and joy and righteousness in that moment where everything else is falling apart? Because in that moment when we stood in the park in Alice Springs, and we did not know where we were going to sleep that night. We didn't have any answers to any of the questions that we had for God. I just felt this bubbling up within me, that funny little song that we used to sing at Sunday school. I've got that joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where?
down in.
And I started singing it with one of my boys, and we were doing the loop-de-loop-loop. And it was just one of those things that he started to reveal to us in all of those moments at every crossroad. How am I responding to this? Am I responding out of that place that I have developed a relationship with the one who I am like? Because do I respond because I don't know him, because I only know about him? And the way that I've been taught about him is that there's separation and that he will come like a Santa Claus and fix my problems because I've done all the right things. Or is this coming out of this beautiful place where I know there's no separation, that everything that is his is mine, and that the beauty of who he is flows forth from within me in all circumstances, because his love is unconditional, his joy is non-circumstantial, the peace is something that surpasses all understanding, that out of that place, he is birthing within us a body of people who shine because we walk with an authenticity and a passion and a love that is only found in relationship. And that's where he's taken us. The answers to all of our questions and the answers to all of our issues that we sought, he was giving them to us, but they weren't what we wanted because we didn't know what we wanted, because we wanted him to give us a response in a worldly way that we could measure. But he was giving us a transformation of the heart and a renewal of the mind.
Wow.
Do you think if you would have counted the cost of your yes, would you have changed your mind?
Yep. I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. It's a good question. I was thinking about if I had been shown what it was going to look like for 10 years beforehand, would I have chosen to do this? No way. No. But you know what? Our story is not everybody else's story either. Our story is one of stubbornness, particularly for me. I've had to learn things the hard way that I could have just accepted are true. I know that there's been times where I've disbelieved that he is actually with me at all times. So I've put myself in circumstances that have required myself to have that proven to me, and I think that part of that, generationally, what my children are inheriting is the not having to do a lot of those things that I've stubbornly done the hard way, that they've just accepted. Why would you do it like that? And I think our story is our story. It's not something that needs to be copied. If anything, just pick up the good bits and just run with the fact that, yeah, he's your father. He supplies everything that you need, all of those things. Just accept that that's true. Don't go out of your way to have him try and make that evident to you. Don't put yourself out in the desert where he does, because we've done it. He does supply everything that you need to exist. We've been in places where no one else is, and here we are 10 years later, we're back on the coast with our hat and our shiny jacket, and everything is different than it was. And he did all of that. But you don't have to do that. That doesn't have to be the decisions that other people make to go through the difficulties to get something that you already have.
Thank you, sir. That's beautiful. I guess the reason for my question is I truly feel that we do a disservice when we don't at least mention the coming to the end of yourself, the count the cost, for this yes. Because, no one is going to have the same exact walks that we have. And then hopefully they will learn from us because of the light that we exhibit or whatever. And they hear our story like, ooh, don't want to go there. Don't want to be stubborn like Sean was. But I think, Kylie, you said it so well. It was a coming to the end of yourself. And I think everyone has to experience that, but not to the extremes that we've had to. So, yeah, I appreciate your candor in that answer because I don't get that very often. So thank you for being so honest.
And when you come to the end of yourself, what is there? You're still there, and so is he. So having to surrender and give up everything that the world tells you that you need to make you happy. Maybe you don't have to do that if you just accept that we can save a lot of time and misery here by just choosing to believe that he is our everything. And at the end of me is me. And at the end of me is him.
Yeah. They are beloved children of Abba. Finds his highest delight in them. They don't have to do anything, and just step into that truth. They don't have to go through the leaving everything and surrendering all and going through the wilderness, dark night of the soul, whatever. Yeah.
Wow. Yet, you guys we are to a degree and stepping into some of those real different, one thing that Brian had, kind of said to me before we were even engaged was, I've gone before. Like he did 12 years of deep, dark, alone time and understanding more and more of who his father is and that love, that it was trustworthy, so that I even on mine won't have to do as long as him. Yet we are still stepping into something that we've said yes to and kind of counting the cost, kind of saying our yes, because kind of like you said, like I've always known I wanted that life that is so clear that it was handed to me. I had to trust him because I can't do this on my own. There's no way for me to make this happen in my own strength, which I have done for over 50 years, always, because I thought that was required. I thought that was what a good Christian person's supposed to do. If you were blessed to go to university and have a college degree, then you've got a brain to figure out how to do A, B, and C, and X, Y, and Z. So go do it. And I'll be back here, even though moving away from separation, but completely living in separation most of my life, right? And so many of us do.
Yeah.
That's what we hear. That's what we're taught in a way. Even though Paul talks about union all the time, we missed it. It's not the focus at all. And that he's just kind of sitting back on his chair, leaning on those back two legs, waiting for me to show, look, she learned how to do it and she did it right. Well done, good and faithful servant, right? That's what you thought was, oh, I put my brain to work and I made it happen in the name of Jesus. And so that
In the name of Jesus, the magical prepositional phrase that's going to make all the magic happen.
Exactly, right? And
Yeah.
So there's growing pains of releasing that. At least that's what, in my experience, there's pains because there's a whole new blazing new neural pathway trails in the brain of releasing what you think is expected of you. And not even realizing so much of that is actually control. An issue with control, not thinking that, versus, oh my gosh, I've been my own God. And he's over here going, that's not for you to pick up, darling. I want to show you who's even better in every single way. And so having other people to say, oh, you've gone before. Thank you. Let me understand that we're not crazy. Is that not something in this, newer season for us, newer, different, we're literally blazing trails for other people, right? All of us are in our own unique way. But to say, you're not crazy, because I hear that all the time. You're not crazy. Because I'm pretty sure we feel crazy at times.
Well, I've been told I was crazy by my family.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of getting that too. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can decide that what they tell you is true or not. And all of these things, the love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, all of these things, and righteousness that we sometimes go out of our way to try and get. Even patience, we've talked about that a lot between ourselves too. You can try and get them, and you can get them the hard way and the long way, or you can believe that because of who you are, that you have all of those things right now. And it's just like Kylie was saying with the joy, that when she sung that, you can pursue that for as long as you want, or you can believe that it's already yours and just know that it is. And you don't have to go through the 12 years of having him prove to you that joy is available in all circumstances if you just believe that it's yours.
Yeah.
And
I think that's like that inside journey, like because it all comes from the center of our being, which is the dwelling place within which he dwells. But if I have never fully let him in, and because he is the energy of love, he is love, it's me actually letting in the love. And for a really, really long time, I didn't love me. And I didn't know how to. I didn't feel like I was good enough, like I wasn't pretty enough, or I wasn't like the right shape, and I wasn't the right, I didn't have any of those things that I was told by the world that you needed to have and be.
and that I was also telling her.
And so, in that process, I felt like I had shut that door, which is the gateway into my heart for his love. And because I wasn't receiving that love which comes from him, he first loved us, then nothing else was working because I was trying to do all of those other things in my own strength. So that journey that he takes us on, that hidden journey, that quiet journey, where we find ourselves in those wilderness places, those places of breakthrough for me have come when I've actually let myself be loved. And in that place, all of a sudden you realize, oh, my body needs that. Like my soul needs that. My emotional aspect of myself needs that love. I need to receive his love so that then I can be the river of life that waters the earth. Because all of those things, his nature, the fruits of the spirit, they all come through that one gateway, and that's the gateway of love. And so most of the journey for me was the love journey, in letting myself be loved and learning to love. And that, all of those quiet times where me finding myself with him going, okay, God, what are we going to do? And he'd be just like, we're just going to be here and hang, and let's just like lie in the pastures and, float in the river. And I'd be like, but this is so like unproductive. But it was in those times where he was flooding me and allowing my cells to really soak up his love. And because that's where it all begins. And then the transformation can happen, all of the brokenness can actually do its job, which is to allow the light to shine through.
So good. So speaking to both of us, right? So much.
I think we had this exact conversation about not doing and just playing in the pool and going paddleboarding and seeing the sunrise and all the things rather than doing
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
like 48 hours
that,
ago.
and it's a hard thing to do because it doesn't make any sense that like our culture of religion hasn't taught us that pleasure is okay. That we've actually put pleasure in the box of the world, where it's kind of like rude or dirty or like selfish, but we've been created for pleasure. There's something wired within us that for his pleasure and for our own pleasure. And so when we engage in those places that bring us pleasure, like paddleboarding and watching the sunrise and, just laughing together and eating ice cream or whatever it happens to be, these simple little things where we can come alive in a childlike way, that's when everything begins to, like, that's the point at which the consciousness of humanity begins to rise.
Yes.
When we connect in that place where all of a sudden we're seeing the simplicity of his love for us and we're enjoying the everyday moments. And then the world just begins to respond to that. Creation responds to that. We enjoy each other's company. We don't have an expectation that people need to believe what I believe, think how I think, be converted to my higher revelation or reality. But we can just love people exactly where they're at and just be ourselves and in that place of the simplicity of pleasure. And yeah, it's ridiculous in when you think about it, that it could be that simple, but I really think that's where he's leading us.
Well,
And
and
not
like
loving,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
you're not loving somebody to bring them into your awareness, just loving them.
Effortless ease, right? And
Yeah.
all that pleasure is returning to Eden. That's what
Yeah.
Eden is, pleasure, right? So it's the returning to that pleasure, redeeming it,
Yeah.
redeeming it. I can remember when I was first kind of stepping into all of this awakening a decade ago and meeting with a guy here who was way far, like he seemed crazy because he was so far into this. And and I remember him saying, well, what kind of drives your life? Like what was your driving force up until this point in time? And I'm like, honestly, pleasure. Like but it was the twisted counterfeit of pleasure, right? It was that seeking of, just make me happy, whatever. Is that drinking, doing drugs? Is that sex? Is that food? Is that, money for satisfaction and never, buying the better car, then the better house, then the better whatever, and never being satisfied? Pursuit of pleasure. And then how he has flipped that back and he's like, it is yours. That is the right pursuit. It was twisted. It
Yeah.
came from that source of a lie that you believed at that time. So anyway, so good. You guys, we could talk about these things for a long time, and maybe we can get you back on there as we continue to journey on all of this. But you know what? So if you would just before we really wrap up our time, tell people a little bit about kind of what are some of the things that God has had you do since that 10-year season, or where you've been out and you're just like, we're doing what he's doing, but and how that in essence, I don't know if you want to call it ministry, but then what's the next season, and then how people can find you and connect with you guys on your podcasts, on your website, things like that.
We'll put it in the description as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, you can find us at wildfiretribe.life is our website. And we have all our socials, all the social handles that are normally Instagram and Facebook and all of those things under Wildfire Tribe. And we also have personal ones, Kylie Henderson and Sean Henderson. So you can reach out to us in any of those spaces. And yeah, we love questions and any comments and thoughts that people have. It's always amazing to hear. And we've got our podcast as well, which is Reimagine with Sean and Kylie, and that's on all the podcast platforms. And you can find the links to our podcast on wildfiretribe.life.
Okay. So then what are some of the things that you guys are doing? Because your podcasts are incredible. I love them so much. But so you travel right now, you're traveling around the country, you're doing some of the ministering to just people in different places. Tell us a little bit about that. What's an average week or month look like for you guys right now?
Yeah, so every week we do produce the Reimagine podcast with Sean and Kylie, and we actually just do it on little microphones, and it's normally done outside, down by the river or at a beach or something like that. We try and pick up a bit of the environment, the outside environment, creation. So that's a weekly happening, and it comes out on Spotify and all of those things. And in between, we really love encouraging people, whether that's one person or a group of people, to step into the dreams that they believe that God has for them. So if I encounter you at a local cafe and you want to talk with me, I am very interested in what it is that your dreams are for the rest of your life, for the rest of your day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the year. I'm really interested in trying to help you step into those if I can. And so we have a lot of conversations with people just on their own in our daily life, going to cafes, etc. But we also, whenever we find a group of people that are wanting to lead a group or something like that, they feel like they want to have a Bible study, or they want to worship, or they want to do whatever it is, in the God space, then we find ourselves easily stepping into their lives, encouraging them that what he has for them is actually for them, and just encouraging them to step in and do a group if that's what you want. So we're involved in lots of little groups around our own country where we might go and visit them in a car or a motorbike, etc., and just sit with them and be a part of their group and just encourage them that whatever version it is that he has for them to bring to creation is quite all right with us. Now, we're not trying to get you to teach other people in your group certain things that we believe. We just want to encourage you to step in what he has for you. And so for today, like after we finish here later on, there's a group like that that's, half an hour's ride from where we live. That's been a gathering that started because of them desiring to start something, but me also visiting them once a week for a year or so, just encouraging them to step into what he has for you. And now they've started something. So we may end up there tonight. We may not. We sort of, we're always following that whisper too. Do you want us to be there or not? And going back, maybe I won't go, and maybe I'll go tomorrow and I'll talk to them and I'll see why it is that I wasn't supposed to be there.
And, I think one of our deep passions is just to encourage leaders, whether it's somebody who is running a business, somebody who is desiring to have a Bible study, or somebody who's running a really big church. Because being in leadership for such a large amount of our life, we've managed and run businesses, run hotels for people. We've been in hospitality, we've been in church, we've done a lot of, managed large groups of volunteers, and really over the last 25 years been mostly in management. And I think out of that place, we've really seen that the journey of a leader is lonely. And there isn't a lot of people that you kind of get to a stage where there's not a lot of people you can talk to. There's not a lot of people you can share a vision with without people going, that not everybody can see see possibility. And he's blessed us to be able to see potential and possibility everywhere we go. So we're able to come alongside with people and just really believe in what it is that they believe in, and we're at that stage too where he's got the fear of man out of us enough that we can also ask the questions that need to be asked, and we can say things that we feel like need to be said that maybe not everybody feels like, because if you're coming and you're needing to please people, it's very difficult to have the conversations that need to be had. And I think we come not with anything other than wanting to see people become the best version of themselves, the authentic them. We want to see people thrive and flourish, and we want to see those pieces of them that are keeping up appearances, or all of those aspects of ourselves that we often hide behind, that a foreign identity. We want to see that fall away, and we really desire to see people connect with who they've always been, and to be on that journey of expansion into the all things are possible for their life. So we love that. We love being able to be a part of that for people, and just to walk with people in that way. It's exciting.
Yeah. And further to the question, we're moving to the US soon. And when yesterday we announced that in a cafe, this local cafe we go to, and there was a young girl there, probably in her early 20s, I would say. And she sort of heard what we were saying. Oh, you're moving. And I knew something ignited in her. I could see a spark of life that was like, hey, it's possible for me. It's possible for me that what you are doing in your life is ahead for me. And before we left that cafe, she was on her own, and I walked over to her and I just asked her, what is it that you believe is in your future regarding travel or living elsewhere? And she said, I would like to move to London.
Wow.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I know. And the best thing that you can do is just step into that dream. Like, just even if you don't do anything else, you don't even have to start putting aside anything in the physical to make it happen. Just don't let go of the dream. Dream that it's for you. And I know that at some stage that young girl will be living beyond where she is right now, whether it's London or it's the US or wherever it is. But I could see that spark of life. So it's always this,
Mm.
what is this person got going on in their life that they desire to have different? Because I can see it. I know that there's something there, and I just want to help you birth it.
I love that. And that energetic frequency of stepping in for people, like almost vicariously, you know,
Yeah.
and they get to hop on the shirt tails, coat tails, whatever you want to call it, of
Yeah.
that. Like we get to give people permission to be
Mm,
who
Yeah.
they were created to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love, I appreciate that. You guys sharing all the things that you guys are doing and encouraging others on their own pathway. Uh, yeah, we will put in the description notes the links so people can find you. And we cannot wait for you guys to be here in the US, even though you're going to be, well, we don't always know where we're going to be, but
Yeah.
lots of things unknown. But you know what? Just this encourages me on that.
absolutely.
And that
Yeah.
is what, to me, like that is what church is. That is that community, that connection. Like we share our stories. This
Yeah.
doesn't mean that this is what you have to do, but let me tell you about me. Let me tell you what happened
Yeah.
to me. And then we get to attach that to what he's doing in and through us in our own and go, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
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 There's something so beautiful about connection with others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We agree.
It's like,
Yeah.
we knew you, and then, the call we had, we knew you more, and now we know you even more. Just so honored to have you guys in our life, and just absolutely stoked is a word, but I don't think I've ever used it before. Um,
I
see what
love
else
it.
has for you guys, and I know that we're gonna connect relatively soon again. So, but
Yeah.
you honor us coming on. It was beautiful. Definitely spoke life into us, and I'm sure the people that heard. So, just appreciate you guys for who you are and your authenticity.
Very much. You guys,
Yeah.
thank
Thank you
you
so
for
much,
coming
guys.
on. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for you folks for tuning in. And I hope there's something that, just like the girl in the coffee shop,
Yes.
that just sparks something in you that goes, oh, me too.
Yep.
So just keep
Yeah.
tuning in. And thanks for joining us, y'all. We're glad you came on for another episode of A Wild Ride.
With the winds of change.